Hello, my name is Robyn and I'm the Director at Inclusive Education South Africa. I'm coming to Belgium in October for the study visit and wanted to give you a little bit of information beforehand about the work of our organisation and some of the challenges we face in implementing inclusive education in South Africa. Inclusive Education South Africa is a non-profit organisation. We've been around since 1995 and we work to try and promote good inclusive practice in preschools, schools and other centres of learning. South Africa is often called the Rainbow Nation, and that's because it's characterised by a population of people who are so diverse. We have different cultures, languages, races, people of different abilities, all striving to live together within an inclusive society. Our learning population is no different to this. It's also characterised by wide diversity, and it's important for our schools to create inclusive cultures where children from all different backgrounds and experiencing a wide range of barriers to learning feel welcomed in an inclusive environment. This helps us to create active citizens who will one day become part of this inclusive society. Although we have inclusive education policy in place in South Africa, in fact since 2001, we see that 15 years later, progress in its implementation has not been what we'd hoped for. There are many children who remain excluded from education in our system, and also children who, even though they have access to education, aren't being supported to learn. But that being said, there are also wonderful examples of good inclusive practice. Ordinary schools which have embraced inclusion have created welcoming environments where all children are valued, where all children are participating, and these are schools that function within the same constraints as all of our other schools. I hope that in my visit to you in October, I'll be able to share with you some of those inclusive practices and we can learn from each other. But for now, I'd also like to introduce you to the rest of my team at IESA so you can see the different programs we're involved in and the different work that we do.
My name is Natalie and I work for our unique information and support program for Inclusive Education South Africa. Through this program, we have the opportunity to provide parents, professionals and service providers with information about inclusive education and what it means for the children that they represent. We get into contact with them through meetings, over the telephone. We use our social media platforms or just simply send an email as well. The reason why we do what we do is that in South Africa, we have 60% of our children who do not leave school with a school leaving grade 12 certificate. So what that often means is that we are contacted by parents of these children who are at risk because they're not receiving support in school or they've dropped out of school because of a lack of support. What we try and do is get teachers and schools to think creatively of different ways that they can support the children within their classroom. And we find that if we have teachers that are passionate and skilled, that it has such an impact when they work in partnership with parents, and it actually leads to making inclusion a reality. At the end of the day, what we want to see is that our parents are empowered so that they know what they are able to do, what their rights are within our inclusive education system.
Hi, I'm Charlene. I'm one of the school's facilitators, and in the schools program we are focused on promoting inclusive practices within primary and high schools across the country. The schools program specifically looks at a whole school development approach, and that simply means we work with building capacity in the school management team, school governing body, educators, parents, children, all stakeholders within the education system in South Africa. Many teachers still believe that inclusion is just about disability. We promote the fact that inclusion is about accommodating learners with a broad range of barriers to learning. In South Africa, we have many children coming to school hungry from families where they experience abuse, and so we really try to get teachers to look at children holistically.
Hi, my name is Alice. I work in the ECD team. We believe that inclusive education is very important. That is why we identify early barriers and we also intervene in these barriers as early as possible. we work with as many ECD centers as possible to strengthen them to becoming inclusive.
Hi, I'm Victoria, working for Inclusive Education as an ECD facilitator. We believe that there are many children in South Africa, particularly in rural areas, who don't have an access to ECD centers. We also support home-based carers and community workers to identify children with barriers in learning and also stimulating children at home.
I'm sure some of the challenges we face in inclusive education in South Africa are some of the challenges you're facing too, particularly when it comes to the attitudes and willingness of teachers to include, the skills of teachers to know how to differentiate both the curriculum, the classroom environment and assessment. I hope that we'll be able to share some of our examples of good practice with you, share some of our challenges and hopefully walk away with it with a better insight as to how we can both go forward to improve implementation of inclusive education in our countries. I'm really looking forward to meeting you and hope you are too.